At number 4, I have Thebes. So this is a game that I've had on my want to play list for quite some time now, because it is from that bygone, dusty, dry Euro era. And I love the theme of this one, the idea of being these excavators going around the ancient world, pulling up these ancient artifacts to score points. Love that concept. And actually on paper, I actually do like some of the mechanisms, as it is one of the forefathers of the time track system, where different actions will take you a different amount of time. And of course, as long as you are furthest behind on the time track, you'll get to take more actions back to back. Now, this game actually, the way it played out was quite frustrating, and probably not for a lot of the reasons why you might assume. For example, this game does rely on a lot of card drafting, as you are collecting these cards, which will get you books that will make you more proficient at diving or excavating certain regions on the board. Now, unfortunately, the drafting pools are very small, and what normally happens is that on your turn, there's nothing you really want. And then you might pick a card, it's not really a card that you want, and it'll refill with a card that's really good for the next player. Or then you might spend all your time travelling from one side of the board to the other, wasting all that time, and then on the next player's turn, the card you wanted appears in the place you've just left. So again, very swingy in that regard, and some people it's just going to fall on the lap of, and some people are going to get the hard shoulder in terms of how those cards come out. Now, I think a lot of the criticisms I see on this game is the pure luck factor when it comes to drawing tokens from these bags, because basically the more knowledge you gain through these cards will mean that you get to dive into these bags more often, pull more chips out, and not spend too much time doing it. Whereas, at the start of the game, if you want to start diving into these bags, you might only get to, say, pick up one token, and that will cost you like 8 time, which is not a good ratio at all. And again, the more knowledge you get, the more efficient that gets. But despite that, you are still hit with quite a huge luck factor, because these bags are filled with blank sand tokens, which are obviously just a waste of effort, but hidden in there are all the points tokens. Now, I do like the kind of passive balancing act of, do I want to start excavating earlier? Although my knowledge might not be great, at least all the artifacts are still there. But again, I'm going to waste a lot of time doing it, and it's a huge risk. Or do I want to get really proficient, get to draw a lot more tokens at a lot better ratio, but by that time other people might have ransacked that area and there's simply nothing left for you to get. And as the game goes on, of course, more and more tokens are gone, making it a lot more difficult to get the tokens that you need. So very swingy in terms of what you'll draw, and not only in terms of the cards, but also in terms of the artifacts. I thought the balancing of how long the timescales take is a little bit off, and you can waste a lot of time or spend a lot of time not taking a turn because you had a poor action that spent a lot of time, and everyone has to catch up with you, meaning you're not doing anything at all. So lots of downtime here as well. So sadly, I think a lot like the theme would suggest, this one hasn't aged well. I think all the new designs have really outpaced this one, and the luck factor is simply too much. But I'd love to see a re-implemented version of this, or a second edition, because I do think the framework is there. Just make the card drafting a little bit more open so you have a bit more control, and tighten up a few of the extra mechanisms to not let the luck factor play too big of a part. So a bit of a shame, quite a frustrating experience. That is Thebes at number 4.